Hi, and welcome to episode 13 of Stuttering Demystified. This is your host, Lori Melnitsky, speech language pathologist, director of All Island Speech and Stuttering Therapy, and stuttering specialist, and a person who happens to stutter. In this episode, this is a really meaty episode, and I want to talk to you about speech strategies. This is a complex topic. It's huge in a lot of ways. And I was thinking of the best way to kind of convey what a lot of people ask me, how come speech strategies work for some and not others? How come they work at certain times and not others? Why do I have my teenager in speech therapy for a whole year and I don't really see too much progress? So I guess I thought the best way to do this is to first start with a story about the age that I started to learn about speech strategies. And I would say it was around the age of 16. I had gone to therapy before. My parents, were like always looking for ways to really help me. And there really was nothing concrete. Until about the age of 16, I went to a wonderful and very caring speech pathologist in the area who specialized in stuttering therapy. And I started to learn some strategies that helped me. The problem is, or that the challenge that I had at that time was that I really basically wanted to stop stuttering. When you learn strategies, you have to sort of change how you speak. And when your voice is a reflection of who you are, so even if you're stuttering a lot, that's who you are. And when someone tells you to breathe differently or slow down, or talk in a way that's not natural to you, the tendency is to reject something new, even though it might be something that's helping you. And especially in that time I was in high school, the last thing I wanted to do was be found out as a person who stutters. And even if I would have practiced 30 hours each week, it probably wouldn't have cured my stuttering. So it did help me. And there were many times that it did help me at work. There were many times I was working as a cashier. I was answering phones. I started to desensitize myself to stuttering. But certain things were still very hard for me, like having a conversation with somebody new, meeting somebody new, saying my name, because trying to think of the best way of explaining this. I think the way I would explain it is if you were going on the ice for the first time and you were able to go around the rink several times and all of a sudden somebody said, you're going to perform at a show. And tonight we want you to do your best ice skating moment. We want you to do your best ice skating moves, and you all of a sudden panic because you're not as good as everybody else and you haven't been practicing long enough or enough, and you can't achieve the perfection that they're expecting of you. So with speech, and a lot of us are very hard on ourselves, if we can be very fluent in the therapy room, why can't we be on show? Then we sort of feel like we're in a show, like someone's watching us if we can say our name. And if we don't say our name, why not? And what happens? And this slippery slope of trying to be as fluent as one can be and accepting the fact that they might stutter at certain times, and maybe only being able to be fluent if spoken very slowly in a relaxed manner. But when you're running around during the week, it's hard to really talk in this slow, relaxed manner. And Are you just going to therapy once each week? I mean, can you really change a motor movement just once each week? Can you change a habit of pushing out words? Can you relearn and go into words a lot easier? Not really, because it isn't enough therapy, and because you're not desensitizing yourself and you're not dealing with the emotions. So why do strategies work in certain times and not work? First of all, some people stutter much more mildly, so they don't have to really put in the intensity and the time that's really needed. Some people just are more comfortable speaking and they're not really hiding it. Some people aren't looking for perfection. But when you get to someone who stutters pretty severely, like for example me, who used to stutter on a good 50-60% of their words, if I was fluent half the time, for me it wasn't enough, because I was in high school and I just wanted to stop stuttering, and I just wanted to say my name, and I just wanted to pick up a phone, and I just wanted to go out with my friends, and I just wanted to order things in a restaurant without people knowing that I stutter. So it was that slippery slope of like being so careful to not stutter, to the point that it almost put like more pressure on myself. So what can I say to like some of you who are learning speech strategies and they're not helping? It's a combination. And sometimes it's a developmental thing, that sometimes people just aren't ready. And sometimes they learn strategies early on and you think they're not really helping. And then all of a sudden they go back to therapy years later. And then all of a sudden they're really able to do really well. But what I find helps the most is the intensity of therapy, being around others who stutter, and seeing a speech pathologist who specializes in stuttering, and understand, and also realizing this is a process, it's a journey. It's not something that's resolved in a month. It could take years, and that's okay, because we're relearning how to speak, we're relearning how to be acclimated. So I still use speech strategies to this day. I'm using them while I speak to you, but I can do them much more effectively now after years and years of intensive therapy than I could when I was in high school. But the problem in like high school was that I couldn't accept the fact that maybe they were only helping me half the time, and I still, even with all these strategies, couldn't speak like everybody else because I wanted to speak normal. So I'm going to go into this more, but this is kind of an introduction to kind of explaining from someone who stutters what speech strategies are and why sometimes they don't appear to be working. Sometimes the fear of speaking is too great. The fear of hiding has been around for so long. So I hope that helps you a little bit, and I will explain more. Thank you, everybody. Again, this is Lori Melnitsky, episode 13 of Stuttering Demystified.